Hey y'all, welcome back to the Krista Kelly podcast. Today is April 29th, and I want to share with you something more personal. I am single for the first time in a while. Um, I've also made a very big, exciting decision to move to Austin. I'm going to move to Austin, Texas. I went through a breakup about 3 weeks ago, and you guys, 24 hours before the breakup is when I decided to move to Austin. And I have been wanting to move to Austin for the last 2 to 3 years. But a lot of you may know that my jewelry business is based out of New Orleans, and it's just time for a change. I love New Orleans. It's my hometown. I grew up between New Orleans and Guatemala. And I also feel like life is calling me to Austin, Texas. This is such a great city. I've already made an immense amount of friends in the short time that I've been here. I came out to Austin recently to look for an apartment, and I found a beautiful apartment downtown that is incredible. It has a really nice view. It's got a nice pool. I've never lived in a major apartment complex like this before. In New Orleans, I lived in a small apartment complex off of Carrollton when I was in college at Loyola University, but nothing like this. This will be the first time with this will be my first time in a downtown city feel experience. And so let me start from the beginning. Let's see, where do I start? It's been so long since I've been single, and I'm really excited about it. I am being very, I don't want to say guarded, but I know for sure that I do not want to get in a relationship anytime soon. I think it's really important after a breakup to, I say that. I know now how important it is after a breakup to give yourself time and space to reconnect with this renewed identity that we talked about in the last episode, where you emerge from these challenging experiences, you emerge from the grief with a renewed identity because you come equipped with newfound wisdom that is going to propel you forward towards what's really meant for you. And you have to really go through a shedding phase, because if you don't go through that shedding phase, then you're still attached to that old identity. And that old version of you comes with patterns that we need to break out of, because in order to break out of them, we have to disrupt the pattern altogether. And so I have heard some very interesting things about Austin, Texas. There's a lot of people my age here, a lot of millennials, a lot of very good-looking people. And in the short time that I've been here in this particular trip, I have made a lot of great connections. I've also heard that Austin is not a great place for dating, but I don't give a shit because I'm not interested in dating anyway. All I care about right now is taking myself out of my old environment, going somewhere new, looking forward to new adventures, new experiences, a new community. And I have no idea how I am going to expand my business out here, but I'm going to figure out a way. I have ideas, don't know yet, but I trust myself so much now. I have a newfound confidence in my being that I know I'm going to figure it out. So that's the attitude that I'm having towards this whole process right now. After the breakup, well, let me just say this. I had a feeling the breakup was coming. To be transparent, we had actually broken up on New Year's, right before 2026. And I know that was kind of fucked up. I'm the one that pulled the trigger on that, but I didn't want to bring any baggage into the new year. I was pretty adamant about that. And then it took another, you know how it is, but it took another 4 months for us to realize that it wasn't going to work out. So the story is, on Easter Sunday this year, I went to church, and I also went to go see a movie called A Great Awakening Easter night with my dad. And between the ministry and the movie, something spoke to me. There was this common narrative between those two events where I was basically hearing sometimes things don't work out the way that we imagine that they're going to work out, but trust in God. Trust that everything is in divine order. Trust that everything is happening exactly as it's supposed to. And at that time, what that translated for me was I just had a feeling that this relationship wasn't going to work out. And I was waiting for the right time in this relationship for me to move to Austin, because he is also in Austin. And I thought that we were going to move in together. I thought that we were going to get a place together. And I was waiting for his lease to come up and this and that, and just waiting for everything to be perfect for me to make the moves that I wanted to make for myself. Because I had been wanting to move to Austin since before we started dating, and I held off on making this move to see where the relationship went, what made the most financial sense, what made the most logical sense, and proceed accordingly. But in essence, what I did was I gave my power away from myself into something outside of myself to make something happen. And that created a lot of tension and dysfunction between how I was feeling internally and my faith and trust in the relationship, and also where I aspired to be, where I hoped to be. And that also created a lot of frustration because I felt like I was giving up. I felt like I was sacrificing so much in the relationship when it was me who gave my power away. I could have moved to Austin at any point that I wanted, but I didn't. So here I am. I made the decision on Easter Sunday, and I was like, you know what? I'm tired of waiting for the perfect time, and I'm just going to do it. And my dad was so gracious. He was incredibly supportive. I talked about it with him on the way to the movie. And then after the movie, I was even more inspired. So was he, and he was incredibly encouraging. He said, just go, Christy. My dad moved to New Orleans when, I don't know, he was probably like in his mid-20s. And New Orleans is not the same city that it used to be. I remember New Orleans in the 90s was such a magical place. And it probably was in the 80s too before I was born. And I remember I've seen pictures of New Orleans back in the day, and it just looked like this wonderland, magical city that unfortunately is just not that way anymore. I love my city. I don't want to give any shade to the city, although I very much could, but I'm not. It has a very special place in my heart, and it's also time for me to move on. My dad was encouraging me too, because he said, if I were you, I would have left a long time ago. He said, New Orleans is not the same place as it used to be, and you should go be with people your own age. You should go follow your dreams and do the things that is going to make you happy. So after I talked to my dad, I made a decision. And as soon as I made that decision to move to Austin, even though I knew that my relationship was on the brink of doom, I was like, I'm going to do it anyway. And my mom she didn't have the best response. I think my mom just really wants to be close to me, so I could totally understand that. But she was also on board. She also reassured me that she wants me to be happy, and she ended up being incredibly supportive as well. So with both of them on board, it was just a matter of making sure that I am operating in a way that is still responsible to my business, to my team in New Orleans. And I mean, yeah, it's like I said, I have ideas on how I want to expand the business out to Austin. And there are so many paths before me that I can take. I'm just going to wing it and trust that one of those opportunities is going to present itself to me, and I'm going to make it happen. Because like I said, I have so much trust and confidence that and faith too in the universe and in God that it's all conspiring to show me the way. So all of that said, let's see, where do I want to go next with this? So here I am. I'm finding myself single for the first time in a while. Before this past relationship, I might have been single maybe like 2 or 3 years before the divorce. And then remember, I got married when I was like 22, 23 years old. So it's been a minute since I've been single. And all of these things that I'm seeing on social media about being single, being a single woman in your 30s and your mid 30s, and some women that I'm seeing are single in their late 30s, they're all living the life. And don't get me wrong, like, there is no right or wrong, y'all. There's no right or wrong way to lead your life. If you want to be partnered up, if you want to be in a relationship, if you want to get married and those are your goals, power to you. If you don't, power to you as well. It makes me kind of sad, or it kind of rubs me the wrong way when I see people on social media criticizing other people for any fucking reason, whether they're staying in a marriage that or in a relationship that they're unhappy in, or whether they are single and like really walking their most empowered life. You know, like, why do we all have to have an opinion about something or someone else, or the way that someone else is leading their life? Why do we have to judge? We have no idea what other people are going through. The most important thing is to hold space for other people. Actually, no, that's not true. I think the most important thing is that we have compassion and understanding for other people. You don't have to agree with the way others are living their life, but it does merit respect and to honor for people to walk their own path. So I have no idea what's in store for me when I move to Austin. I'm moving mid-June, but I'm very excited. I mentioned in the last episode that I'm in the sphere, right? Like, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, you got to go watch my last episode. But it's like the sphere in Vegas. I'm sitting inside and I am starting to see some pictures and ideas formulate of what my goals, like what my recalibrated goals and vision is for the future. But there's still so much white space, and I am not in a hurry to figure it all out and put all the pieces together. After emerging from a breakup, after emerging from a very challenging experience where you have been changed, I feel it's really important to be patient and allow time and space for those things to naturally and organically formulate for you. Because if we put pressure or we are in a rush to get it all figured out, it's not going to serve us. We're going to end up pressuring ourselves to like turn in homework that's not even due for like months. I know a lot of us like to do our homework early, but there's something to be said about stillness and quietness and being present in the moment. Because if you're planning out too far ahead, if you're planning too much and filling your calendar with too many events and tasks of things that you have to do, then you miss being still in the present moment and just getting inspired. That's where the magic happens. And I know that is what this period of time is for me. My business is in a good place. My team is fucking rocking and rolling. We've got systems and processes down. They're creative. They're all owning their space. They're leading in all their areas. I feel more supported than I ever have in my business. And I also feel like I am creating even more connection with my audience and my customers than I ever have before, simply by showing up on social media. I was before the breakup, y'all, I was so riddled with anxiety and stress because of the relationship. I found myself not being able to show up on social media the way that I really wanted to. And I felt constrained. I felt like I couldn't show up authentically because something was holding me back. And now that I'm out of it, I realize it was the relationship. As much as I loved this guy, it was not serving me. It was not bringing out the best in me. I wish it wasn't so, but it's true. I can't deny that. I feel better now. I feel better now than I think I ever have as an adult. I feel the best now than I ever have in my 30s. I feel more equipped with the wisdom. I keep saying this. I feel more equipped with the wisdom to propel me forward than I ever have before, and I'm so excited about it. One of the projects that I'm really diving into is not only this podcast, but showing up on social media personally. When I started the business back in 2012, I dedicated, and also because of the times, I dedicated so much time, energy, and focus into building the social media following and the audience and the branding for the jewelry that I don't want to say I neglected myself, but I was hiding behind the jewelry because I was afraid to be seen, because I didn't want to be seen. Why? Remember in my last episode how I talked about my mom being very strict when I was growing up, and how when she took me out, to meetings or dinners or and all of these things, and I was around all these adults, I was expected to be very good, be a good little girl, be quiet, ask for permission to speak, ask for permission to get up. That I found it easier and better that the less I'm seen, the better it is for me and the better it is for mom. And so I hid. I tried not to be seen. I tried so hard not to be recognized in any way, shape, or form because I didn't want to bring attention to myself. And I saw that happening in the business. I'm seeing it play out. And fuck, like, I didn't create a personal brand. I didn't show up on social media personally because of those same reasons. And I hid behind the jewelry because I wanted the jewelry to do the talking. I wanted the jewelry essentially, my jewelry designs were my way of being seen safely. They were my way of being accepted and loved in the safest way possible. And back in the day, I used to fall apart under criticism and under, being disliked. And it's taken this long for me to not give a shit anymore. And that has been so liberating. Like, I can't tell you how free I finally feel for the first time in my life. So now that I'm single and I have no attachments and I do not feel the weight of the responsibility or obligation for anyone else's feelings above my own, I'm putting myself first for the first time in my 30s. It's about time. And if that's you, no matter how old you are, bravo. I applaud you and I celebrate you for that. Let's honor this time that we have in solitude, not alone, because we're not alone. You're not alone, honey. I promise you, you're not alone. Remember to have your hero with you. Remember, your hero is that version of you that you aspire to be. Matthew McConaughey talked about it in a speech. You got to Google it. Google Matthew McConaughey's speech about my hero, and he'll tell you all about it. I can't even give justice to repeat it here, but it's one of the most inspiring speeches about how to connect with the best version of yourself. So, yeah, let's honor this time alone and in solitude with our best selves. Where was I going with that? I got 6 minutes left. Honor that time with ourselves, give rise to the wisdom. And the last thing I'll say is do the things, create the habits that are going to build and nourish trust with yourself. That is going to, no, let me say that again. Let's take this time to do the things we need to do to build a trust. Let's take this time to do the things we need to do to build and establish an unshakable trust with ourselves, to nourish the loving relationship that we have with ourselves. And we do that by simply doing the things we say that we're going to do and showing up as that version of ourselves that we aspire to be. If you find yourself like with anxiety or fear or stress, stop. Remember to picture your 6, 7, 8-year-old self standing next to you, looking up at you, waiting to see how you're going to respond in that moment. You want to make sure that you're acting accordingly to make him or her proud of you. And that's how we start recalibrating the current identity with the version of ourselves that we aspire to be, our hero. It's as simple as that. It's a powerful choice that we make in quiet moments, in hard moments, in sad moments. And other people may not like it. Other people may find it incredibly odd or turned off because they may no longer resonate with you. And if they don't resonate with the version of you that you aspire to be, then they're not meant for you. And I'm finally fucking okay with that. I know my heart. I know how loving and compassionate and giving I am. And if someone can't see that, or if the version of me isn't serving them, then they're a taker and they're not a giver. And if they can't celebrate you becoming the best version of you, then it's time to let them go and honor yourself. Well, that's all I have for you today. That is my personal update from my decision to move to Austin and my most recent thoughts on the breakup. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for taking the time to be here, for simply spending time with me today. If this resonated with you, please connect with me on social media. My Instagram is @christy.cali. If you also really enjoy reading, I have a Substack that you may also like. It's free. My Substack is It's Christy Cali. You can download the app and find me there, and I'll email you some really cool things. Until next time, thanks again for being here, and I'll see you later. Bye.